That Venerable says, and dear friends in the Dhamma, I'm very glad to spend this evening with you today. And today is a Monday, and this is not today. Usually we have Dhamma talks, not a regular day, but Brother Leslie want to utilize my presence here very much. So he managed to put Dhamma talks all days I'm here. But it happened to be the perfect day to have a Dhamma talk. Because today is a very special day for all of us. As some of you may know, and today is the birthday of our beloved teacher, most venerable Bhante Punnaji. So he would have been 89 today. So let us dedicate this whole Dhamma talk in memory of our beloved teacher. And at the end of the Dhamma talk, we can spend a few minutes, especially focusing on him and sending our loving kindness and also sharing the merits with him. And today's topic is how to see the Buddha. I think throughout Bhante Punnaji's teaching, he has been trying to teach us to see the Buddha. And he tried very much to guide us to see who was the Buddha and also to see the Buddha within all of us. So we can really engage with his wisdom in this topic. And I was reading some of his life story. Some of his very close friends wrote in a book published in Sinhala book. And this very close friend, actually his classmate from very young age, shared in that article, when people ask from his classmates, like usually the teachers ask from students, who you'd like to be in future, right? So this friend shared that during their time in the school, that when teachers ask students, who you want to be, and many would say that I want to be a doctor, and I want to be an engineer. And so when it comes to Bhante Punnaji, whose name was Pushpananda, and when he asked, what do you want to be, Pushpananda? To everybody's surprise, he used to say, I want to be an enlightened Buddha. That's what he has said at that early age when he was studying. But he could not become a monk because his parents were from very wealthy, rich and aristocratic family. They wanted him to, become a doctor. Though he really very much wanted to become a monk at a very early age, he could not do that. His parents didn't give him the permission. And they wanted kind of honor their family. So he pursued his parents' dream and continued his study and became a medical doctor. And he waited until his mother passed away to become a monk. And he spent that whole years studying and just mainly to help satisfy his mother's wish. And so when his mother passed away, he realized that I fulfilled my mother's wish and now she's no more here, now I can follow my dream. and then he became a monk. So it's such a rare personality and such a rare teacher that I think as friends and devotees of Buddhist Maha, you should be very happy that we are very fortunate because I think you are the group of people who got the most out from Bhante Punnaji. He has been teaching all over the world for many years, and with his all experience, and he spent his last 10 or more years in Buddhist Maha, and you are very fortunate to get the most benefit from him. And on the other hand, it also his tenure here also was a very productive year for him also, because all his teachings were put into a print form and then video form. And earlier there was only a few publications to his name, and I think during his time here you all helped him and you all facilitated it and helped him to put all these teachings into books and CDs. So they are available now for anybody, any generation. So I think you benefited from him, and then his stay here benefited his dissemination of Dhamma too. So seeing the Buddha is a very pleasing idea. How wonderful if we can see the Buddha with our own eyes. We have to be really, really fortunate. We have to be really, really meritorious to see the Buddha. Actually, even to be born in an era where the teachings of the Buddha is available, we have to be really fortunate. Because there are periods in human history that the teachings of the Buddha is not available, and there can be thousands of years that there's no Buddha appeared in the world. And we all are very fortunate because we are living in a period in which the teachings of the Buddha is available. And not only that, and we are also living in a context, an environment where the teachings of the Buddha is being heard or is discussed. We could have been in this particular period, but in the context and environment, there's no opportunity for you to learn and listen to the teachings of the Buddha. Because it's very rare for any being to evolve into such a level to realize this deep truth. And Bhante Punnaji always says that this is like becoming a superhuman, like we call it Superman, that's his term. Superman in real sense, because in Pali we use the term Arya Pukkala. When you become mature in your spiritual path and you become enlightened, you are called Arya Pukkala. Usually you call noble person, but Arya can really mean the noble and higher evolved. What is happening in this process of enlightenment is actually something that is even going beyond the evolution. In the normal process of human evolution, and our mind is being conditioned, and also our brain is being conditioned, not to liberate us, but to keep us bounded, keep us, stick into this whole process. And in fact, recently, a few years ago, there was a book came out called "Why Buddhism is True" by an author called Robert Wright. Robert Wright, he wrote a book a few years ago called "Moral Animal," and in that book, he's an evolutionary psychologist. And in that book, he's told that as an evolutionary psychologist, I have a bad news to tell you. Because through the process of evolution, he was studying the human mind, human brain, how it was evolved through the process of evolution. He said that in this process of evolution, our brain is wired to deceive us. And our brain is wired to keep us unsatisfied. And that is for the purpose of keeping the species moving forward. And so the mind and the brain is wired to deceive us, not to let us know actual reality. And importantly, the brain is also wired to keep us unsatisfied all the time. Therefore, we keep pursuing, and then in that process, we will somehow pass our genes to the next generation. So the whole process of evolution, making use of each and every individual being without really being kind to any individual being. So what he's said that we are kind of in a trap, and so no matter how much you satisfy, you try to satisfy yourself, satisfy your senses, and satisfy your sensual or sexual desires, and this brain is wired in a particular way that you will always stay unsatisfied, so you keep on doing things again and again and again and again. In that process, somehow the species, your gene is transferred to the next generation, but it is not very kind to you. And then after that, he was reading Buddhism and tried to understand what somehow he came across with the Buddhism, and then he was able to relate to the teachings of the Buddha, to his previous understanding of the evolution process. He realized that what Buddha has said also through avidya, ignorance, and tanha, craving, because what he realized as evolutionary psychologist, that all beings, including human beings, are in an ignorance. Their brain is wired to deceive them. No matter what false promises our brain is giving to us, we still don't get it. Our brain will say that, okay, you have your next joy, next pleasure, and you will be completely okay. Then we pursue that. And again we feel unsatisfied. And brain says, you get the next one, you will be okay. And we pursue the next pleasure. And we keep doing that every time our brain is giving us false promises. And every time we break the promise, but we don't get it. We keep pursuing it because brain is also wired to deceive us, not to say these things. So when you learn Buddhism, what you realize that actually this is what the Buddha has also discovered many thousands of years ago, that all beings are under ignorance and craving. And then what he discovered through the learning the teachings of the Buddha is that Buddha has not only discovered the problem, because early book he said that we are all in problem, and it's a sad, it's a bad condition to be. You realize that you are in a problem or you don't know the solution, a way out. But when he learned the teachings of the Buddha, and he realized that Buddha not only discovered the problem, but also has given us a solution how to come out of this trap of evolution, and how to go beyond this process of evolution. And so he becomes so thrilled, and he wrote the book called Why Buddhism is True. So the Bhante's Punnaji's idea of becoming a superman, superhuman, is actually has that deep meaning, that this whole spiritual process that we are doing is something like going beyond the ordinary, normal, natural human evolution. This is like another step, like reworking the evolution process, and creating a new, we can almost call it a new species, but really transcending all our limitations. So to see the Buddha as human beings, even to listen to the teachings of the Buddha is very rare, because in all this process we are being trapped and we are being kept ignorant about this whole process happening within us. We simply react and behave the way our ancestors have been doing, and ancestors have been passing these genes, and there's no way that we turn back and see what is happening to us. So the appearance of a Buddha, the person who for the first time somehow got this, somehow found out. It's like that movie, The Matrix. Everybody is trapped, and one person somehow was able to come out and realize that we are in this dream. So it's very rare. It's very rare. It's like coming out of the egg, breaking the egg. You see these whole things happen. It's very rare. So we have to be very fortunate to be born in a period in the teachings of the Buddha is available to us. So how fortunate we should be to really to see the Buddha, to meet the Buddha, right? So today what we try to understand how we can actually see the Buddha. And during the time of the Buddha, there was a monk who actually became a monk just to see the Buddha. Means literally, see the Buddha, to gaze at the Buddha. As you know, the Buddha's appearance is so pleasing and so serene. His appearance, his physical appearance itself is very pleasing. And he has a special marks as a result of his long practice, long preparation to become the fully enlightened being. His merits, his fortune was so great that his body is quite special. And do you know how many special marks that the Buddha had in his body? How many? 32 marks. 32 marks, and there are also minor 80 marks also. And sometimes when we create the statues of the Buddha, we try to incorporate few of them. Like Buddha had golden colored skin, very shiny skin, for example. And his hands are quite long. It's very well built and quite long and almost touching his knees. And he had this special hair coming right in the middle of his forehead called urna. When we some statues, we can see that urna, that curly hair. And he has very wide and round shoulders. And there are such 32 special marks the Buddha had. And so even to look at his physical appearance is pleasant. And by fascinated by his simply appearance, and one young boy, one person, he was so fascinated with the appearance of the Buddha, he became a monk just to be around the Buddha. Not necessarily to actually practice. Yeah.
Was Siddhartha also having this 22 mark?
Yes.
After?
No, he used to have them even when he was a lay person. I remember when he was a young boy, the ascetic Asita, the teacher of the King Suddhodana, came to pay a visit. And then he noticed the wheel, mark of the wheel on his footprint, in his foot. The wheel, mark of the wheel is another special mark. So he detected that and predicted that he would become Buddha. So he had those special appearance. I think that is why he was definitely special from the birth too. So this monk, his name was Vakkali. And there's a sutta called Vakkali Sutta. And so Venerable Vakkali now he has become a monk, and Buddha noticed that whenever he goes, that monk is around, and he will be in some corner and simply looking at the Buddha. That is enough for him to simply have a look and a pleasing appearance, and just that is enough for him to be happy. So when after Buddha noticed that he's like coming behind, and I think definitely he knew that he was not a spy, but and he was looking at the Buddha all the time and gazing at the Buddha, and one day Buddha called him and asked, I noticed that you are around me all the time and following me wherever I go. What's the matter? Because many of the monks will meet the Buddha and will get instructions, and they will go and will meditate and will practice and they will teach others. But this monk was simply following the Buddha. When the Buddha questioned, and he actually admitted that, Venerable Sir, I'm actually fascinated by your appearance. Simply looking at you can calm my mind and make my mind pleased. So I'm here just to look at you. But it's very interesting what Buddha told him. Buddha told him, Vakali, no matter how long you will be gazing at me, you are not going to see me at all. So even though we all want like see the Buddha himself, but Buddha said to Vakali, no matter how long you will be looking at me, you will not see me at all. And then he asked, what did you mean? Buddha said that if you really want to see me, you have to understand my teaching. Those who sees the Dhamma sees me, says the Buddha. There's a famous quote, right? We quote it, you can see it in many places. Those who sees the Dhamma sees the Buddha. That is the Buddha's advice. So luckily, there's no use from this physical feature. This body is, is only an organism. This is a process, and this, although no matter how beautiful and pleasant it is, it's going to grow old. And in fact, Buddha's body grew old too. If you read his last sermon, last sutra, Buddha was simply looking at his own body and telling Venerable Ananda. Ananda said, look at my body. This is like an old cart. But he was not worried about it. He didn't identify himself with his body. So he was able to look at his body like objectively and see the reality of anybody. And he just said that my body is like an old cart that has been, managed badly. And he said that now I have all kind of pains in my body. The only moment I feel free of pain is when I achieve higher level of samadhi. This was the body of the Buddha towards the end. But fortunately he was able to come in. But he didn't recognize himself with his body, so he didn't have suffering. But physical pain was there. But whenever it's severe, he will sit down and go to deep level of meditation, where he didn't feel his body anymore. So he said that in the last sermon. So he told Vakali, there's no point in looking at my body. If you really want to see me, you will have to understand the teachings, what I'm telling. So we really love to see the Buddha, but Buddha's advice is not to worry about actually seeing the physical appearance of the Buddha. And we can really see the Buddha when we put some effort to understand, to have some glimpses of the teachings of the Buddha. And when people created the statues of the Buddha, and the statues of the Buddha were created much later, at least like 400 later, 300 and 400 after the Buddha's passing away. So by the time the statues of the Buddha were made, nobody had seen the Buddha at that time. So what they try to do, some try to incorporate the 32 marks, physical marks of the Buddha, but most artists were trying to symbolize the qualities of the Buddha. Rather than recreating the historical Buddha, they were trying to symbolize the qualities of the enlightened mind. So some statues, therefore we have different gestures and different postures. So some statues were made to symbolize the tranquility of the Buddha. The statue behind has the samadhi gesture, and this statue is made to represent and symbolize the tranquility, the stillness of the Buddha. And there are other gestures where we try to represent the fearlessness of the Buddha, and then wisdom of the Buddha, and his compassion of the Buddha. So right now, even now, when we see a statue of the Buddha, definitely, and that simply gaze at the statue itself can definitely calm our mind. And this is very strange, I think these artists have, because many of the artists first produced the statue of the Buddha, they themselves meditated for a long time. They themselves meditated, and they somehow have some glimpses of what the Buddha was teaching, and then only they developed, they built those statues. And of course, nowadays, not all artists are doing that, but at least we follow that tradition, they follow the early the features of those statues. So even nowadays, people who are not necessarily Buddhists, whenever they see a statue of the Buddha, that can make a real good impact on them. In Pittsburgh, in our Buddhist center, we have a Buddha statue inside our shrine hall, but we also have a statue of the Buddha outside in a wooden house. And some days we find people who just come to our property and just come to the statue of the Buddha, simply look at the Buddha statue, and they find it's very pleasing. And we have the light in focusing on the statue of the Buddha. We used to switch on that light so anybody passing by our Buddhist center can see the statue. And for some days we forgot to switch the lights on. And one day a person came and the doorbell rang. We went out. And he asked, why the Buddha statue is not here now? And I told him that, oh, sorry, we forgot to switch on the light. He said, whenever I used to travel in this road, I used to look at that statue. It is so pleasant to me. So please switch on the light. So even the statue of the Buddha can make such impact even for people who are not necessarily Buddhist, because the features try to represent the qualities of the Buddha. But the Buddha's advice for us is not necessarily wait, not necessarily to worry about actually seeing the physical appearance of the Buddha, but actually try to understand the deep teachings of the Buddha. And then what Buddha is saying that when you see me through the Dhamma, you will have more joy. And in fact, there's another sutta where the Buddha described that how we can be close to the Buddha. So I'm going to read a quote directly from that sutta. This is found in the Buddhist text called Iti Buddhaka, and it is one of the texts found in Buddhaka Nikaya. And in that sutta, Buddha says that even a person who will hold the robe of the Buddha is so close he can hold the robe of the Buddha and walk behind him, behind the Buddha, even placing his own steps in the marks of the footsteps of the Buddha. If somebody were to follow me like that, it's not guaranteed that he's close to me. So let me read the actual quote. Even if a monk, taking hold of my outer robe, the were to follow right behind me, placing his feet in my footsteps, yet if he were to be greedy for sexual pleasures, strong in his passions, malevolent in mind, corrupt in his resolves, and his mindfulness muddled, unalert, uncentered, his mind scattered, and his faculties uncontrolled, then he would be far from me, and I from him. That is a strong regret. Why is that? Because he does not see the Dhamma. Not see the Dhamma, he does not see me. So even if we were able to see the Buddha, even if we were able to be around the Buddha, according to the Buddha, we are not close to the Buddha. He's far from me and I from him. And then Buddha explained how exactly you can be close to the Buddha. And he said, even if a monk were to live 100 leagues away, do you know how long is a league? I'm also not sure, maybe about 6 miles. 6 miles. So even if a monk were to live, right, Bhante, league? You don't know? About 6 miles. Yeah. Even if a monk, and actually the league, the Pali term is yojana. Actually, that original term came, yojana, came to be used. The amount of fox, amount an ox can work continuously without a break. Yeah, yojana. The amount, the distance that an ox can travel continuously without a break. So maybe 6 miles, I don't know. So however, even if a monk were to live 100 leagues away, yet if he were to have no greed for sensual pleasures, were not strong in his passions, not malevolent in mind, uncorrupt in his resolve, his mindfulness established, alert, centered, his mind at signless, his faculties well restrained, then he would be near to me and I to him. Why is that? Because he sees the Dhamma. Seeing the Dhamma, he sees me. So even though we can be very far away, if we follow the teachings of the Buddha, and importantly, if our mindfulness is established, and if our mind is settled, and if our faculties, means our eye, ear, nose, tongue, are restrained, well restrained, we are close to the Buddha. So here it explains in terms of the space, like how far, whether you live like 100 leagues away, you can be still close to me if you follow these teachings and experiencing the benefits of the teachings. I think that we can also interpret this not only in terms of the space, but even in terms of time. Right? So we are quite far from the Buddha, not in terms of the space, but in terms of time. We are far away from the Buddha for like 2,560, 68, 60, 2,560, 61. 2,560, it's going to be 62, right? 205,062 years away from the Buddha. But still, we can be close to the Buddha. If our mindfulness is established, if our mind can be settled, if our sense faculties are well restrained, and also there are other qualifications too. But this is the lesson I think we have to remember. If you really want to see the Buddha, and the way to see the Buddha is not necessarily to worry about actually meeting the Buddha and see the physical appearance of the Buddha, but actually try to understand the deep teachings of the Buddha, because it is the Dhamma who made the Buddha the Buddha. Right? It is the Dhamma which made the Buddha, which the realization of Dhamma made the Buddha. So when we truly understand the teachings of the Buddha, and then we can really see the Buddha. Let's say we didn't practice any teachings of the Buddha, and we didn't have any experience of experience that Buddha was talking about. We may not have any idea what Buddha has achieved, right? What Buddha is trying to tell us. So if we have a deep understanding, deep practice of the teaching of the Buddha, when we say the Buddha, you know this is what Buddha is telling. When Buddha is meditating, we know this is what Buddha is experiencing. When Buddha is teaching, we know this is what Buddha is telling us. Otherwise, it can become a real simple appearance. And there's another very interesting story that actually one person, even who saw the Buddha, didn't recognize the Buddha, but recognized the Buddha not through his physical appearance, but listening to the teachings of the Buddha. But this meeting happened in the night, so maybe if we saw the Buddha in the day, this could have been a little different. But this shows that Buddha was an ordinary human form. And this story is about a prince called Pupusati, name called Pupusati, and there's also a sutta called Pupusati Sutta. And this prince was actually was from an area. The Buddha used to live somewhat eastern northern India, and that's where the Buddha used to live, like Savatthi, Rajagaha, and all the cities were in the eastern part of northern India. And there was a kingdom in the western part of northern India, and like Takshila. City called Takshila is from nowadays modern days is close to like Pakistan and Afghanistan. And so there was a prince in that kingdom, and he used to be a very good friend with King Bimbisara, who is the king of the Magadha, where the Buddha lived. So they used to send messengers to each other and exchange gifts. So one day when this prince sent a set of gifts, he sent actually jewels and gems to King Bimbisara, and King Bimbisara was a disciple of the Buddha by then. He wanted to give the best gift he can give. So instead of sending him back some other valuable ornaments or something, what he did actually, he wrote some teachings of the Buddha in gold plate, and inscribed few important teachings of the Buddha in gold plate and sent him as a gift. When this prince received this gift, he was reading this, and it really brimmed for him. He was really fascinated with this deep teaching, and he was reading and reading and reading, and he realized that this teaching has deep truth, and I am a prince, and maybe I may get to become a king. Who knows? There will be competition between other cousins, other siblings, and even when I become a king, it's not a simple thing to rule the country, and I always have to protect myself and have the guards all around me. He decided that if this kind of deep teaching is available, no use of being a king and live a very stressful life in fear. Most kings lived in fear because they can be attacked, and whoever attacked can become the next king. Right? So most kings live in fear. So he decided, I'm not going to become a king, I'm not going to remain as a prince, and I will go and find this teacher. And he himself renounced his life, his square life, and adorned ascetic clothes, and he started the journey, come from all the way from Takshila, from western part of northern India, all the way, many miles away. All the way. It took him months and months and months. So now he is reaching the eastern part. He is reaching the Savatthi. So that day, it became evening in the dark. So he was looking for a place to stay. There was a potter's house. the potter maker's house. And he has a long big hall. When the pots are being sold, that hall is a vacant hall. Many ascetics will come and rest. So when he asked from the city, the people in the city, where can he stay, they told him that there's a potter's house nearby. Maybe you can stay your night there. So he went, and Potter agreed, and we allowed him to stay, and he took residence in that place in that night. On that very evening, the Buddha was also happened to travel around that city. And in the evening, he also wanted a place to stay. So he also got the news that there's a potter's house nearby. Like a motel, a hermit's motel. And so he went to the potter and asked, can I stay tonight here? The potter said, I have no objection, but the only issue is that there's another ascetic already staying there. If that ascetic has no problem, no objection, you can stay with him. So Buddha went to that hall and talked with the ascetic and told, I want to spend this night. He said, oh, why not? We have enough space, please come, let us spend the night together. And so when the Buddha entered to the hall, and he found a nice quiet place, and he crossed his legs and he raised his body and was meditating. And after he came out from meditation, he saw that even the other ascetic was very quiet and he was also contemplating. And after Buddha observed his behavior, the Buddha was quite happy. He was pleased with his calm and disciplined behavior. Buddha decided to talk to him. And he asked, and for whom you renounce your life? Who is your teacher? What is the teaching that you follow? Bhikkhu hasn't seen the Buddha. He got the gift, the teachings of the Buddha. He read and he was so fascinated. He was so impressed, and he's coming to see the Buddha. They have met already, but the Bhikkhu did not recognize the Buddha. So when the Buddha asked him, "Who is the teacher you follow?" and he said that, I am following. He said, I haven't seen my teacher, but I renounced my life to follow the teachings of a person called Gautama the Buddha. And I'm going to see him, and he is my teacher. And Buddha asked, have you ever seen him? He said, no, that is why I'm going to see him. Now, will you recognize if you see the Buddha? That I haven't seen him, I have to see him, and if I see him, I may recognize him. And then he asked, who is your teacher? The Bhikkhu who is your teacher, and what kind of teaching you follow? And the Buddha said, okay, let me explain what is the teaching that I practice. And Buddha gave a whole sutta. And that sutta is fortunately recorded for us. The sutta is called Dhatu Vibhanga Sutta. The discourse on the analysis of elements. The analysis of elements. Discourse on the analysis of elements. That sutta is hardcore Buddhist philosophy. And that is what Buddha said. And in brief, actually, it's really very dense, philosophically, doctrinal dense sutra. But mainly Buddha is talking about basically 6 elements. The earth element, the water element, fire element, air element, and consciousness as the 5 elements. And it's describing as 6 elements, including space. So earth, water, fire, air, and space, and consciousness. And Buddha is explaining this is what really, what really exists in the world, but then also not really existing in the real sense, but they interact with each other. And then also Buddha explains that although these 6 elements are in function and working together, and that elements is also become meaningful when our sensory faculties are functioning. And then he explains our 6 senses, like 5 common senses, eye, ear, nose, tongue, and the mind, and say that our whole world is created by these 6 senses. Now I think, so he's explaining this, our whole world is none other than the experience of the 6 senses, and I think that is what Bhante Punnaji also has been trying to explain to us. So that's the teaching Buddha gave to this Bhukusati. When Bhukusati was hearing this deep teaching that the world is the 6 sensory organs and their respective experience. That is the world. And the 6 elements is the other components of this world. And when he was listening to this teaching, and he started to realize that this is the teaching that I heard. And this was the teacher that I was looking for. I was going to meet. At the end of the sermon, the Bhukusati bowed down in front of the Buddha and said, "Venerable Sir, please forgive me. Now I realize that you are my teacher. And now I realize you are my teacher. Please forgive me for not recognizing you early. And the parents, but I'm so glad that I met you. Please ordain me as a monk." So Venerable Bhukusati recognized the Buddha not through his physical appearance, but through his teaching. If Bhukusati didn't know any of the Buddha's teaching, he will never recognize the Buddha. Even he saw the Buddha in his own eyes. That's going to happen to us too. That's going to happen to us too. Even though we get a chance to see the Buddha with our own eyes, we will not care. Who knows whether we were actually living at the time of the Buddha and didn't care? And there were so many people who didn't care what Buddha has to say. Right? And there were so many people, even insulted the Buddha. And so we could have been so when Bhukusati was able to recognize the Buddha, because he knew the teachings of the Buddha, he knew the Dhamma, at least he had some glimpses of them, not the full realization, but at least some glimpses of the Dhamma. Therefore, he was able to relate to the Buddha, he was able to recognize the Buddha and see the Buddha. That is how we should see the Buddha. Even though we got the chance to see the physical, actual presence of the Buddha, we will not recognize the Buddha if we do not start to practice the teaching of the Buddha and have some glimpses of the teaching of the Buddha. And the extraordinary transformation that Buddha is encouraging us to create in our mind. If we hasn't started that path, if we hasn't have some understanding of that transformation, if we have some glimpses of that, unconditional reality that Buddha is talking about, we may not see the Buddha. So, we all can see the Buddha through understanding the teachings of the Buddha. So, let us try to learn and understand and practice and have some experience of the Dhamma, and we will definitely see the Buddha. And in future, if we happen to see the Buddha, we will definitely recognize the Buddha. We will definitely go in front of him. We will definitely, listen to him. So I wish that we all learn and understand and practice the Dhamma, and may we all see the Buddha.
We thank Bhante for the excellent Dhamma sharing. Before we share the origin of species, which is through the natural selections from the studies of botany, biology, and insecticides, and cross-pollination, and that kind of thing, they create a new species. And as as those are the fittest, right, will survive. Those that is the weakest, right, will just leave the whole world. How is Buddhism view this evolution from a point of human life and maybe spiritual point of view?
Thank you, brother. I think actually that question is well answered in the Bhante Punnaji's writing. And, even that simple book that they published recently on metta, philosophy of metta, and there's a brief description. And if you read, his books, it's clearly explained that. So, but I will give a very brief answer. Charles Darwin saw the natural selection as the driving force behind the process of evolution. Buddhist explanation would be actually the driving force behind evolution is craving. Craving is the one that actually shape our bodies and shape the species. The need. When we have a strong need, we create those organs. And then when we have strong need, we survive. So I think there's no issue with the general theory of evolution in Buddhism, but Buddhists will add not only natural selection, but actually the mental factor. The craving is the driving force behind evolution. So that's short answer. But I think Bhante Punnaji has a clear answer. We can read that.
Any more questions, brothers and sisters?
Bhante, one last question. During the time of Buddha, there were many who attained arahantship and Nibbana, right?
Yeah.
So is there any record of people attaining arahantship or Nibbana after the Buddha's birth? Or even now, at this age and time, when the Buddha is not around anymore, we don't see the Buddha, but is there a possibility for us to achieve that?
Yes, why not? So, in theory, the teachings of the Buddha is akalika. If this technique works no matter when.
There's no time frame. There's no time frame.
No time frame. It works. And there are many other enlightened disciples, the persons, even after the Buddha, and even, I believe that even in today's modern world, they are around, enlightened masters, but they may not necessarily come out and broadcast themselves. So we have to find them. So there are a few monks that I truly believe that they have achieved, if not full, at least the stages of enlightenment, and we are very fortunate that they are around. And one monk passed away just the beginning of this year, and this year is a really sad year for all of us. So there are. This technique works, and it depends on how much dedication we can put into this. And definitely, if we have more support, support is easier. But I think there's no time frame. But if the Buddha is around, if we have some Buddha around, one special skill that only a Buddha would have, not an Arahant, the Buddha would have, is the ability to kind of scan and to understand what kind of defilements are strong in you and what kind of spiritual faculties are weak and or strong in you. So we call Asya Musaya Jnana. And he has a special ability to close the watch and see what kind of what is the dominant unwholesome tendency in you. So he will give you an appropriate meditation to counter that extra thing in you. So that is why the Buddha was able to spot what is really what can work for you and then quickly guide to make the process quick. But even during the time of the Buddha, it took a long time to achieve that. So we don't have that, fascinating. But who knows, even though Buddha said that, okay, I think you have to work with your anger, and will we take the message seriously? So we have to have some prior training for that. But so if the Buddha is around differently, there are so many like facilities, and the Buddha will be able to give us correct dose to quickly to become enlightened. But even in the absence of the Buddha, there can be other teachers who can help us.
Please come forward, my brother.
Okay, this regarding birth and death. When a person dies, right, I believe the spiritual consciousness will move on. The body will just leave behind. According to Buddhism, right, this spiritual consciousness will go to take another life form, that kind of thing, right? My question is it immediate from the death, the life form, or was that basically a span, a timeline, kind of before they take another form? Thank you.
Actually, the proper way of telling would be like it is the craving that continues, and we can say that the consciousness is re-established, but the consciousness that is being fed with the craving is the one that misrecognizes itself as an independent unit and then continue to try to survive, not really survive, but try to survive. So it's not simply, when you say spiritual consciousness, it can give a wrong understanding of a kind of soul-like entity that moving from one body to other. That is not the intention of the Buddha. It is this attachment and craving to this whole process can continue. Whatever, your question is actually whether this transition from one life to the other life is immediate or whether there is an intermediate period, right? That's your question. That's a controversial, issue. There are different Buddhist schools provide different perspective on this. But when you understand this whole mechanism, how rebirth occurs. The rebirth occurs because our craving has not been ended. Our craving for self-identity is not ended. That is why when at the moment of death, no matter how long you live, you are not ready yet. You are not ready to you want to continue, you want to survive, you want to stay, you want to maintain your self-identity. That's normal for all any being. The very meaning of sattha in Pali, sattha is the term for beings. The literal meaning of sattha means attached. So anybody is sattha, anybody is a being as long as that being is attached to its self-identity. So what really happens is that when our body collapses, our craving is still strong, can be stronger than you were born actually sometimes. When our body collapses, our craving and attachment to self-identity is very strong, and that whole craving can propel the consciousness to exist in a different way. So, because if you understand that mechanism, what's really happening is that when the death moments occurs, the craving becomes so powerful and it can push the consciousness into existence in other form. So it should be immediate. If there's an intermediate period, that presupposes a kind of entity that can exist by itself without the support of a physical or other base. So it should be immediate. But the issue is that the human body is only one organism, but there can be many other refined, fine material organisms that can support life. So there can be many forms of life. The people are talking about immediate because they think that certain realms, certain classes of beings have a short life, so they believe that you are born into like ghost, and after a while you will born into another form. So the whole idea of immediate, idea of like intermediate state is come from our attempt to impose our human perspective on these things. So if you talk about intermediate, right now this present life is in the intermediate life from previous life to the next life. So whether that life is long or short, it depends on the realm. For human realm, time is felt differently than the realm of the divine beings or the realm of the animal beings, right? For some species, the whole lifetime will be, very short. So the time is not an objective reality. Time is dependent on the classes of beings. So there can be lives, forms of life that is shorter, but that doesn't mean that they're intermediate. That's a full life. So of course that life can also die and come to the next birth too. So I think it's immediate. I think today, first of all, this is the very good time for all of us to focus all of our mind and show our gratitude to Bhante Punnaji. So we will share the merits with him. I don't think that he needs our merits at all. But this is our way of our gratitude, our way of appreciating him. And so I really miss him this time. Our conversation we had with him. I used to go to his room quite often, and I have no idea. I have lost in the sense of time. When I come out, it has been too late sometime. So because it's so enjoyable to talk with him, and he also visited Pittsburgh Buddhist Center, our temple, a few times because he has one of the relatives living there. During his last visit, he was looking for a robe, and so I had, because he also wear this same color robe, so I had a new robe, of this color. So I showed him. He said, "Good for you, Bhante." And he was so happy with the robe. And he took off the robe that he was wearing and he gave it to me. And he took the new robe. And so since then, because that robe is also. So even that robe was a nice robe, but for somehow he thought it's too silky. I think that's why. So then I took the robe with such respect, and now it's like a relic for me because it's his robe that he was wearing, and it's with me. So it's a great. And he was such a friendly, warm person, and so we will, particularly this time, I really miss his presence, his jokes and everything. So this is also a lesson in life, right? How